One final time in Season 5, the IORA Cup Series is back in action. The championship race, one of the closest in league history, and it comes down to 6 points between Jim Thurston and River Page. Martinsville last week, Thurston able to pull off a clutch victory to narrow the gap to the single digits, but that won't be enough. Tonight in Miami, the championship will be decided after 125 laps to end the season here in Florida. As we began in Daytona, we are back down to the southeast, and this time around it's the Homestead-Miami Speedway, your host. It's going to be an exciting race, 188 miles worth, and qualifying is on the move for the most important session of the season. Welcome back live on FTN. We've been covering all the action throughout this campaign, and Thurston and Page have been the championship drivers to beat. Tonight, though, they're going to have to figure out one way or another who is the best of them here in IORA. I'll be your host for all of tonight's coverage. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing, so make sure to stick around because right now, qualifying has just gotten on its way. Michael Deitch sits on the provisional pole, and Braxton Deweese is now going for his qualifying lap. One lap only for each and every driver. And now with single car qualifying on the move, Braxton Deweese getting his lap in. Michael Deitch on pole with a 33.8. We have ourselves a qualifying session to keep our eyes out for. We have a total of over 15 drivers registered, and as it stands, Michael Deitch holds the top time. We're going in reverse practice order, so the slowest times in practice go first, and so on and so forth. Braxton Deweese at the line is not going to be able to take that pole position. He will miss out by 66 1,000. Up next, Scott Wilkerson, who's getting on his way now for an outlap. Wilkerson on the move. Getting back on the way, the number 70 is Wilkerson. It looks like there are only going to be 2 Wilkersons today, not all 3. However, it is Scott and Wyatt Wilkerson. No sign of Jacob, and Scott's in the wall. That might be his run as he gets out of turn 2 and ends up banging up the right side of the car and heads back down to pit road. The call is going to be Wyatt Wilkerson, Alexander Balderas are both moving up, and Balderas spins. I believe Balderas would be up next. Let's take a look at the list right now. So, up next, after Michael Deitch and Braxton Whitaker, would be Henry Kaloff and Alexander Balderas here. It looks like as it stands, they have not gone out. Balderas is going to be moved back in the order here. Up next on the schedule officially is going to be Wyatt Wilkerson. Scott not able to get a good run in. It's going to be Wyatt now on the way. So with Wyatt Wilkerson getting on the move, we remember Wyatt from last week. He and Jacob battling to see who was the best Wilkerson on the day. Eventually, Jacob got the better of him, but Wyatt did not have an easy race. Ended up going several laps down. Came back to the lead lap only to get involved with a contact once again. Henry Kaloff up to the provisional pole in the number 63. He gets there with a 33.344, and Wyatt Wilkerson now going to be on the way, staying up top, as most drivers appear to be, and it looks like they're comfortable using that higher groove as Wyatt nearly gets in the wall, much like Scott did. Brandon Dugan going to be up next. Dugan is in the title fight. Well, not for the championship, but he is fighting to stay third in the points. We're going to talk about him after Wilkerson gets around the way, and it looks like Wyatt a little bit of trouble with the walls, but all said and done, that will be a 33.6, good for second provisionally on the charts. Brandon Dugan having his career best season by a long shot. Multiple top 5 finishes, and he's been a fighter for the win at tracks like Talladega. It's now down to him and Daniel Mosteller to see who gets third, and it will be quite the upset if Dugan gets it done. 29 points back on your championship leader, 1 point ahead of Daniel Mosteller. I tell you this much, Brandon Dugan might be the most improved driver in this series. Getting up there in the points table, remaining consistent, and given the fact we have had mostly all green races all season long, no small feat. Dugan at the line will jump up to the provisional pole under the wing of the Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport crew. The Haggard Electrical number 55 comes across the line and is now top of the circuit. Here comes Alexander Balderas. The number 95 is going to be on the way, racing down the back straight. And he's got himself now on the circuit for his one and only lap coming this time by. Balderas was a championship contender very early in the running, ended up not making it out of the second round. And now the Spotify number 95 looking to go for it one last time. Finally crossed the hurdle and achieved the most important goal for this team, a first career victory. And Balderas up the track, 33.549. He puts on the timing sheet. Jason Chilton now going to be on his way. Chilton finds himself on the move, 147 miles an hour coming out of the corner here, and Jason, this is his second race of the day. And when we say of the day, it is of his season overall. He ended up debuting in Charlotte, and he was up against Ashton Crowder on that day, where, of course, Ashton got his debut victory. Crowder 2 for 2 at podiums, not 2 for 2 with wins. Chilton was not a half-bad driver on that day, though, so maybe look out for Jason to go high. That he does. Chilton up to provisional pole by 77 one-thousandths of a second. Now, Daniel Mosteller's going to be on the move in that number 87, the Nationwide machine now making it through. Mosteller, the two-time champion, looking to defend at least the top 3 in the points, is going to be once again running it way high, and most drivers are going to be sticking to that strategy, at least for the early going tonight. Homestead is one of the best tracks for multi-groove racing all throughout iRacing. You can take it high, you can go low, you can run the middle, and as you see, Mosteller through 3 and 4 is a little bit more comfortable going down to the bottom side and coming back up. So be it. That's how he'll do. And Demos, he is loose. Can he save it? Yes, but not going to be good enough for a time he'd like. That's good for third. It's going to slot him right behind Brendan Dugan. No. Invalidated lap as he spins out of the front straight. And Daniel Mosteller will not be able to put a lap time down. He made it across the line, but spinning on the way out with no control is going to invalidate it. So Demo's pushing a little bit too hard and might have been able to grab that provisional pole with the speed he was putting up. Relative to Chilton, he almost looked to be a tenth of a second ahead. And now Aiden Walker looking to take that spot and then some at the line for Walker, 32.993, by and large the quickest lap. And Aiden has it made by more than a tenth and a half. Not half bad as Chase Schaefer now gets on the move. The part-timer, the number 99, has already gotten himself multiple wins this season. He's coming back for potentially one more. One of the better drivers, especially in the intermediates. The king of Atlanta, multiple seasons running. And back down south, just a few hundred miles away from Georgia. Maybe get a chance to do it all over again. Schaefer going to be coming across the stripe, speed as he comes up to the tire side of the corner. A little bit more conservative than Daniel Mosteller, and that should be good for the top spot by a tenth of his own. Chase Schaefer up to provisional pole. Now River Page, and Page is a real important one to watch. Keep your eyes peeled on your current championship leader, up 6 as it stands on James Thurston, and he's got to put a good lap down here. You can see he's riding the edge. Take a look inside the cockpit here. And he's got the wheel working back and forth, power down, coming down to the main straightaway, and up to the wall. A very delicate process at the line. 33.109. That is not good enough for the front row. River Page, at best, will start third. And Carlos Truther's up. So Page maybe not getting the lap he would like out of it. Walker and Schaefer looking especially confident. Looks like River Page not as much. He'll still slot in ahead of Chilton and company. And now Carlos coming down and in. Looks like he's going to stop his lap. And the 039 done and done with Joe Armstrong coming up next. Now, Joe Armstrong having a flurry of internet issues. He's back and forth, been connecting in and out, so we'll try to keep our eyes on him here, but giving us a little bit of problems in practice, and there you see it in practice again. It's going to be Joe Armstrong making it down the front straightaway at a speed of about 173 miles an hour. Going to be hard to time this one out, but hopefully he doesn't hit any walls while we don't see him. And Joe, a quick driver who's gotten it done before in the IORA Cup Series. He fought for the victory at Charlotte, won in Season 4, which was a fantastic race coming down between he and Chase Schaefer at New Hampshire, and a Magic Mile winner looking for some magic tonight. Admittedly, hard to tell whether or not he's got it. Coming off of turn number 4 at a good speed of about 153 miles an hour, it is Joe Armstrong who goes up to third, gets by River Page. Now Jim Thurston's on the way, and it could be the most important qualifying run of the season right here. Does Thurston gain any ground on his championship rival? This is where we find out. Ripping it up high, giving a little bit of a cushion, about 6 inches worth at the most, and riding out of the corner with a load of momentum. Exactly what Thurston needs now. Going to be half a lap to go to determine whether or not he gets the speed out of 3 and 4, and his decision is to lay it up top. Continuing to put the speed through right up against the wall and using that cushion for comfort. Now, Jim Thurston coming across the stripe at a speed of 175. It's a 33.131. Going to be right beside River Page. He was not quicker. Thurston not able to make gains, and it looks like he was going to be given the final chance in qualifying, could not walk it off. Thurston and Page will start 4th and 5th, and they're going to be right alongside each other. Checkered flag will fall in qualifying. And now we move on to our final main event. 15 drivers are going to take the green flag. Page and Thurston, the talk of the town. And now they find themselves lined up 4th and 5th. Thurston really had a perfect opportunity there to maybe make some gains. He watched every lap. He watched every driver and saw every line. And yet he couldn't make it happen. River Page, maybe not the best lap for him either. However, he still gets the advantage, making something work for just one position's worth. Tell you this much, let's get to know your starting grid for tonight's event. The final time this season you'll get to see it. And before we come back from our summer break, this is the last look at the IORA Cup Series in Season 5. At the top of the board, Chase Schaefer, the number 99, able to break through to the 32.8 realm, and he grabs the final pole of the season. Alongside him, it's been a long time coming for Aiden Walker, still looking for his first win since Season 3. Walker going to find himself starting on the front row in the 2nd position. 3rd place is going to be Joe Armstrong. Armstrong there fighting some internet troubles, as you can see, and we'll see how much longer he holds on from this point onward. River Page, who comes into this championship bout 6 points with the advantage over his championship rival in Jim Thurston. Well, he finds himself 4th, and it's going to be 5th for the aforementioned Thurston, right beside the 2-time race attempter, shall we say. He's a rookie in his own right. It's Jason Chilton starting again comfortably in 6th. 7th place goes to Brendan Dugan, who's 3rd in the points coming into the night's event, and it's Henry Kaloff then in 8th. 9th place is going to be occupied by Alexander Balderas, and it's Wyatt Wilkerson in number 90. Then in 10th, the 11th place is going to be Michael Deitch, and 12th goes to Braxton Whitaker, with 13th then and there being Daniel Mostellers. Not a strong stowing for Demos, not able to get a lap in at all, and Carlos Truther then 14th. The 15th and final driver, the number 70 of Scott Wilkerson, and the only driver on row number 8. With that being said, time to get things rolling, and now in 2 turns time, we will be racing once again. Welcome back for one last dance. The championship battle, the closest it's ever been in IORA playoff competition, and it's toe-to-toe between the field's 2 best drivers all season long. Chase Schaefer will do the honors and lead the field back to green for the final race in Season 5. Joe Armstrong leads lap 1, but if you caught it, Jim Thurston gonna fall all the way back to 13th on that error at a 2. Take a look at this side by side. He wiggles up, contact with Page, and he gets knocked down. Hell of a save, but Thurston's gonna be a long ways back, and he finds himself now running in 12th, just getting by Scott Wilkerson. Man, oh man, Jim Thurston already on the back foot. He's got his work cut out for him, and he's had his work cut out for him ever since the very beginning. He came into Martinsville 12 points back, needed a miracle win. He got the miracle win. And although he was able to have that championship lead River Page has, well, River's right now in 3rd. Jim is in 11th. There is a clear difference. And that's what it comes down to here. River's already running up inside the top 5. Matter of fact, he's still inside the podium, even though he's side by side with Aiden Walker. He would still be in 4th if he lost the spot. There's also, you know, Brendan Dugan, Henry Callop, Jason Chilton, Dan Mosteller, Alexander Balderas, and company still coming on back. And these are strong drivers who Jim Thurston has to get by. Grayson Winokur in the chat room talking about Wyatt Wilkerson looking for a better run for the 90 crew tonight. And right now inside the top 10, so not doing half bad by any means, but a little bit of contact with the wall again, much like what we saw in practice. Got to avoid those scrapes off the wall. That can mean quite a lot for these guys. They, of course, go the distance. Compounding damage, you never want it in a racing event, regardless of the track. It matters a lot more here at Homestead-Miami. One of the most aerodynamic dependent intermediates, shall we say. It's a progressive banking circuit, and we don't often see that come into play in any other type of track. Homestead, very unique in that sense. Initially, Homestead-Miami was almost like a baby Indianapolis. 1.5 mile in length, but about 9 degrees of banking throughout each of the corners. Very flat track, and at that time, it was the host of the NASCAR Cup Series championship race. Drivers such as Dale Jarrett and Bobby Labonte won their championships on the flat Homestead configuration. However, looking a little bit further beyond that point, Homestead got a reconfiguration in the early 2000s, about 2003, which gave it this progressive banking structure, which means the more you go up the track, the more the banking you are going to get. Effectively speaking, you see it as they come off the corner. It's not a flat progression down, shall we say, but it is progressive, more gradual. Depending on where you are, you're going to feel a different experience, and you see most drivers running the bottom right now, getting themselves locked into that line, and they're just going to choose to play it safe. However, don't expect drivers to shy away from the high side when it's all said and done. There's a lot of time to experiment, and I would not doubt we see that from guys in the field. River Page right now going to see the first caution of the day. The reason being Alexander Balderas and Wyatt Wilkerson and Daniel Mosteller are all involved in contact, and it looks like Mosteller is destroyed, and so was Michael Deitch. Here's an instant replay. Let's get it back again. So, Demo's going to get contact from Kaloff, getting a block. The 87 gets loose, drifts up the track, and then Mosteller hits Balderas, gets Wilkerson. Jim Thurston barely makes it out of that one. My, oh my. The 96 could have made that night go from bad to worse, but that's going to be his saving grace. An early caution. Take a look from the back end. That might have been a contact. Just a little bit. Maybe a scrape or two. Pull that back again and you will see how close it was. With Wilkerson coming up there on Thurston. Super slow-mo. Thurston couldn't have gotten any luckier. And that's the difference right now between River Page having a huge championship advantage and maybe a few spots being what we look at right now as Thurston, among others, come down at pit road. Yellow flag is out. It's going to be Thurston, Balderas, Daniel Mosteller, and Wyatt Wilkerson. Michael Deitch, too, all involved in part with that incident. And pit road going to get busy again here. And you see Brendan Dugan getting back on the way. Thurston not too far behind his rival in River Page. And it looks like now the service cycle is once again in full swing. Page going to get on the way. And due to follow him is Thurston. Look at that. Jim getting all those spots back and all that time in just one yellow flag cycle, the first of the day. And the first lap jitters are going to be out of the way now, so it looks like it's going to be once again a nearly dead even title fight. 6 points is the gap between Page and Thurston. So let's talk about the numbers in regards to who's where and how they've gotten there. What we're looking at right now in regards to the situation is if you are Jim Thurston and you clinch the championship, you have to be at least 4 spots ahead from any position. Have a chance to mathematically lock it, that or win and have River Page finished in 3rd. So Thurston's not in the right position to win the championship right now, but he's only 1 spot behind River, and if he passes him, could build up some track position. Now, the victory would be the be-all, end-all for just about both of them, unless River finishes in 2nd and maybe gets some bonus points along the way, but 1st and 3rd is barely enough. Really make it happen, Thurston's got to get more out of it. And of course, a long ways to go. The first thing is just celebrating the fact that he's there, not involved with that contact, and it could have been much worse. Even though these drivers have one faster pair, using it early is bad news. 10 laps in out of 125. The top 3 as it stands, Chase Schaefer, Henry Kaloff, and Jason Chilton. Right now, the rookie in Chilton finds himself at the back half of the podium, and, well, Henry Kaloff, a little bit of a surprise to see him up here so quickly, given the fact he was part of the initial incident that got things a little screwy, shall we say. Kaloff throwing a risky block, to say the least. He was in front during the corner, but I don't think Daniel Mosteller too happy about how it all went down. Nevertheless, it's almost inconsequential. It was first 5 laps of this race. Shouldn't mean all too much for the rest of it as we come across the line again. And it's going to be Kaloff up top, Chase Schaefer right down low. The caution is out. Henry Kaloff right now with Chase Schaefer 1st and 2nd. Michael Deitch is going to find himself inside the top 5. In addition, Scott Wilkerson there as well. If you're watching live on FTN and you got a favorite driver you'd like to cheer on, make sure to let us know in the chat room right now. Hitting that subscribe button will give you unlimited chat room access. We'd love to hear from you right now. We got 15 great drivers who registered. Unfortunately, only 14 of which made it to the green flag, but the most of them are still here with us, and that is at least the positive side here. Chase Schaefer's the man who leads, and we got Henry Kaloff there in 2nd, Jason Chilton in 3rd, and Michael Deitch, position number 4. 5th place is going to be Scott Wilkerson, and 6th then Aiden Walker. 7th going to be Braxton Whitaker with 8th Brandon Dugan, and 9th spot right beside is Joe Armstrong. Here we go again, the iRacing official pace car, and it's going to be Chase Schaefer leading the field to green for the 2nd time, but he's got a new right-hand man. That's Henry Kaloff. Green flags out, and what a jump there from Schaefer. It's going to be the middle pack that stacks up. They're going to be 3 wide already. They're going to be 4 wide already. Wilkerson among others. We got Michael Deitch, Scott Wilkerson, Joe Armstrong, and River Page 3 and 4 out of 1 and 2. Don't you think it's a little too early for this? Unbelievable. And they were all able to make it happen. That's the best part. I think there's a lot more trust in this league as we see a little bit of that contact. That is not real damage. That's Joe Armstrong's internet. I think we're seeing a lot more trust built up in this league. Martinsville, maybe not the best race, almost resetting that trust, shall we speak, but seeing longer green flag runs. We've seen riskier moves being made. We've seen drivers more correspondent with one another, and that's allowing for these actions that might seem a little bit crazy to happen without many consequences. And that's why the IORA Cup Series continues to improve. This driver base has known each other for quite a while now, and fifth season, it's an opportunity, of course, to keep getting more custom while bringing some new drivers in, and the core has been here for the most part since day one. So when you race around a driver for a long period of time, you get to know how they work things out. And when you're in the packs that are very similar week after week, well, you figure out what you can do and what you can't. And right now, I'd say the IORA Cup Series is pushing its limits in a good way as to the racing we see, because these drivers now know they can take it side by side, know they can take it three, and they know what they can do when and when not. And it's all about right now having that limit, as River Page is going to drop down to pit road. It's going to be an impromptu stop. River Page, he goes in after 5 laps. What's going on for River here? He looks to have no damage. He might be coming in for a restart violation. And it looks like for Page, who was your championship leader before we got to this point, he is getting a stop and go penalty for the restart. Black flag to River Page. And now he's going to be in 12th, far behind Jim Thurston, and that gives Thurston the effective championship lead. So now Thurston going to find himself 6th and Page in 12th. Talk about a flip of the championship picture here. All of a sudden, it's going to be River Page all the way back in. Jim Thurston now with an opportunity to take what's his and go for even more position. He's going to go down to the inside now, trying to gain another spot, entering the top 5. Henry Kaloff trying to keep the door shut, but it's not going to be easy here as they go side by side down the main straight. It's going to be now Henry Kaloff holding it up high, and it looks like he's got himself in a good enough spot to keep on defending, using that air, dropping it down to the inside, and the side draft might be all that Kaloff needs. Aiden Walker additionally now going to be getting inside of the top 3. You look at the battle now for the podium, Jason Chilton and Aiden Walker. Chilton, the rookie, is holding Walker off on older tires. Keep that in mind. Right now, Jason, who does not have the advantage, as a matter of fact, he's playing it from behind and still holding on quite well. We haven't spoken all too much of Chilton. We haven't seen all too much of Chilton, but right now, he's not doing a half-bad job, given the fact he's on an 18-lap-old set and Walker is on 9-lap-old rubber. They are still side by side. Chilton will not give up. Commendable work here from Jason Chilton, running down the back straightaway once again, and it looks like he might be clear here. He's just got the top side working exactly how he needs it. I wouldn't be surprised if Walker eventually gets this. I don't think that's going to be something that Chilton can hold off for all too long. But the fact that he's kept him here at bay for this long on old tires, well, maybe Chilton's got something we're going to see more and more of in the future in this league. And he's going to have to give way eventually. Jason Chilton going to back out of it. And now Joe Armstrong, who a little bit of a missile with no control due to the internet problems, is coming up on Chase Schaefer. We'll see what Chase does about this here, because the 22 could go anywhere and could be contact. Armstrong down low, the 99 of Chase Schaefer up top, side by side now, and it looks like they're beating and banging. A little bit of fenders slamming at each other, a little bit now of that door banging racing, and the aggression level might get kicked up a notch or two. And once again, Armstrong going to blink in and out. So fluctuating internet's going to mean Chase Schaefer has to play nice for fear that he gets up in a wreck that he doesn't even know he's part of. And look at that, Armstrong puts him in the wall. And that is the tricky part, because right now Chase Schaefer is seeing him about 75% of the time. And you might think that seeing a driver for 75% is good enough, but if you don't see them in those important moments, and it's really by chance right now, then you are going to be at risk of losing a position. Joe Armstrong up to the race lead. He's definitely got the pace, but maybe he didn't even know Chase Schaefer was right there with them, and iRacing making the call. Schaefer now going to find himself second on the way up, and now he's got the draft, hoping to make a run in. How about we take a lap on board right now with Chase Schaefer and see exactly how he approaches this. Schaefer right now still trying to figure things out with Joe Armstrong. We take that lap on board, and right now the bottom group looks to still remain more dominant. We were seeing that top side all throughout qualifying for the most part anyway, but right now it looks like Schaefer decided to follow where Joe Armstrong goes and just try to figure things out from there. Do not want to risk it all too much. Maybe going about a groove higher here through corners 3 and 4. And if the opportunity presents itself, Schaefer is going to get things moving. I don't doubt that Chase Schaefer right now understands that maybe it's better a bit more to wait from here on out, keeping in mind that here in the IORA Cup Series, we do have a limiter on our fuel cells, so we had that caution at about lap number 5. We had a few caution laps, and some drivers went down a pit road. I believe the maximum these drivers can do from that point on is about lap 60 from here, which would be stretching it, in all honesty. But if they get there, then they would set themselves up for the next and final pit stops at about lap 95 to 105, and that would get them all the way. Regardless, it looks like a 2-stop strategy from here. I don't see it going a 1-stopper unless someone stretches it incredibly far, like 75 or 80, but that looks very unlikely right now, and these drivers seem to be putting themselves in a position to go along with multiple pit stops on the journey here in Homestead, especially for the drivers who did not go down a pit road immediately, such as some of them that you're seeing right here. There's Scott Wilkerson with Daniel Mosteller. Demos now trying to make his way up as a lapper. 3 laps down for Daniel Mosteller, and he's going to make the move right by Wilkerson if he can just get the run here. Although I think Scott right now has the advantage. Demos is going to pull right back up to his back bumper. Try to go for it all over again. And Mosteller so far behind after that first incident, really going to hinder his chances in getting up there with Brendan Dugan, which is a huge battle in itself. Not as big as the battle for the championship, but the battle for third in the points has some significance here, especially for the driver of that number 55. Dugan trying to put the bow on this present and wrap up what he's seen this season. A fantastic campaign for him and the best of his career. Daniel Mosteller, maybe one of the worst of his career, admittedly. 2 championships, and then he came back after 1 season off. In season 3, he was second in the championship standings. So, in all honesty, for Mosteller, even though he got a win this season and is in the fight for the top 3 in points, it would still be his worst ever season based on points alone. And he was fantastic last season. If you remember, it was Sean Conklin and Daniel Mosteller who racked up 75% of the wins throughout the season. Now, granted, Sean Conklin had himself about 50% on his own, but at the same time, Demos was not only about as quick, but was more consistent. Thurston gets by Jason Chilton. That is the pass for 4th. Demos was just about as good as Conklin, and matter of fact, on the night where he ended his championship run, he was leading the points. If he attended Martinsville, which was the second to last race of that season, he would have most likely come out with a points lead, and most likely would have given something to Sean Conklin in the finale at Homestead, but that was not meant to be, and Conklin won his first ever IORA championship. Now our eyes are on another IORA champion in Jim Thurston, looking to be tonight the second driver to become a 2-time champion in league history. He won in season 3. And he came damn close in season 2. He could have been the most accoladed, or rather, most celebrated driver in this series with the accolades to show for it. But season 2 just barely passed him by. Season 3, well, he was able to get it done and honestly dominated that final race at Homestead. There was nobody like him. And season 4 was admittedly not his best work. But he's come back this season, and he's shown that he's leaps and bounds ahead of guys like Mosteller, at least in this circle. River Page has been his big competition, and if Page were to stay in 12th for the rest of the day, which is very unlikely, then he might find himself, Thurston anyway, in a good position to become a 2-time champ, and the first since Mosteller to become a multi-time champion. Sean Conklin only a 1-timer and did not come back to defend in the slightest. Thurston now looking to take his chances and move forth 31 laps in out of 125. Brendan Dugan and Jason Chilton right now going to be battling for 5th, and Brendan coming up. Brendan Dugan now trying to make his way in for another top 5. Let's talk about the overall championship standings, the official championship standings. That will show the full records of the campaign. We've mentioned, of course, the big points battles coming into tonight's event, but the overall standings might tell a little bit of a different story than what you expect relative to the drivers who are most competitive. Jacob Wilkerson still looks to be en route for a top 5 championship finish, which would be in 5th tonight. If all goes his way, which I think it will. Henry Kaloff is a little bit too far out unless he has a great race from this point onward, and Kaloff right now is in 7th, so mid-pack, not a terrible race by any means, but really wouldn't be all too much. Corey Lyles is currently sitting in 7th, Aaron Schugel sits in 6th, and Vincent Guecci 8th, all of which are not racing tonight. Will Shack is sitting in 10th. He's not here as well. And Shea Schaefer and Alexander Balderas are too far out of the championship contention to do anything. They will finish this points table 11th and 12th. So it all comes down to those that are left. And the closest battle looks to be Jacob Wilkerson and Aaron Schugel, which is going to end the way it is. It's going to be Wilkerson who gets the advantage. Aaron Schugel, Corey Lyles, which ends the way it is. Henry Kaloff might be able to gain a spot or two regardless, because he's in 7th right now, was 1 point behind Corey Lyles and 4 behind Aaron Schugel. So I think he might be able to jump up inside of the 6th position, maybe 5th, if all goes his way from here. If he just stays on the track and gains a position or two, he could get 5th. But it comes down to Dugan, Mosteller, and of course that important championship battle in which River Page was its leader, but that is no longer the case, and he finds himself now mired back in the middle of nowhere and nobody else is around him. And it's especially upsetting as a driver like Page here is going to find himself just barely getting back up to the tail end of this lead lap grouping, knowing that Thurston did not get a good start at all. He got the worst start possible, setting himself back to the exact same position Thurston is in right now. Well, that's where he was. Page finds himself now tail end of the lead lap, 12th place, more than half a lap behind your leader, and he is all alone unless a caution were to fly. Page is going to have to sit out of the fight lap after lap for a majority of this race. Potentially it could be River with nothing else to do but hope and hope for that yellow flag to fly. And with the way these guys are driving right now, not a lot of excuses to bring out the caution. Maybe Thurston is going to accidentally bring one through here with Aiden Walker, but the battles have been relatively spread out. Everyone decided to get themselves in a groove, and I think that's the best thing to do for the sake of the racing quality, as it looks like River Page right now is due to come up on Braxton Whitaker. We'll see how he approaches this fight. Well, I don't think that was much of a fight there. River Page immediately up into 11th, and he makes his way there, now one spot outside the top 10. Coming through 37 laps in out of 125. How's about we take a lap on board with the loneliest driver in the field, River Page. Well, the time that we've been looking here with River Page, he's made himself a top 10 driver again. However, top 10 not going to be enough when Jim Thurston is up to 4th, and he's been looking here for 3rd. A lap on board with River Page is going to show you he's still got the speed. I don't think that's been in doubt at all. The big question more so becomes, what is Jim Thurston going to do? As a driver, the number 96 is now looking at an opportunity to gain one more spot and roll into the top 3 Maybe not with ease, but he's got a real good shot to go for it as long as he plays his cards right and keeps calm here. Thurston looking down low, trying to get himself about a groove and a half under, maybe more like half a groove anyway. The way that Aiden Walker's running low as well. All drivers have been keeping it on the low for the majority of this day, and it looks like keeping it on the bottom side just good to churn these laps through, log them, and get to the second half, where pit cycle, of course, going to become the most important topic. Joe Armstrong is a ways ahead of the field now, and it comes down to the podium fight, and even Chase Schaefer might get involved. Thurston coming off of the corner here. That time by, he ran a 34.822. Not a bad lap by any means. However, it looks like he's only about 3/100ths of a second quicker than Aiden Walker, which he's still gaining, but that's not a big gain at all, especially if it is inconsistent here. So it looks like these two might be coming out to about a net even pace. Not going to help out for the sake of that number 96. Henry Kaloff rounding down the back straightaway is coming up on Jason Chilton. And Kaloff moving in a 6th would be real good for his chances to make it into the top 5 in the points at the end of this season. The CB fabricating number 63. He's making his way through, and it looks like he's now coming up on Jason Chilton. Henry Kaloff now making waves, and he's on a 43-lap stint, much like Chilton, so it looks like Jason's tires might be falling off a little bit more. We saw him trying to keep it up there with the leaders previously, and right now he's paying the consequences in the later stage of this run. Brendan Dugan in a number 55 going to roll down the front straightaway and find himself in 5th. Maybe now there's a chance for him to just keep it where it is and run smoothly. Daniel Mosteller is in dead last. Scott Wilkerson coming down to pit road this time by. The Folds of Honor number 70 machine going to make the first trip in down to the inside. It looks like now Scott Wilkerson going to miss his stall. Yes, he does. And he's barely going to make it back in there. He's going to have to try twice. 44 laps in. Chase Schaefer now going to make his move in as well. Here comes Chase coming in from 2nd on the order. So 44 laps in for Scott Wilkerson and Chase Schaefer, 45 laps in out of 125, so just about a third of the way, and as such, we move on. Number 96 of Jim Thurston coming across now 0.2 of a second back, and as drivers slowly but surely file in, it looks like 45 to 50 is the range. Henry Kaloff now going to make his way through. The number 63 of Kaloff right behind Chilton, and both come in as a pair. And now with Kaloff making it down and in, it looks like he's going to make his spot and stall, as does Jason Chilton. As they come together, now making it across the stripe, it's Thurston and Schaefer, and now Chase trying to make his way back through. Take a ride on board now with Jim Thurston, and you'll see what's going on as the drivers at New Rubber make their way through. And with Chase Schaefer slowly but surely growing further and further out into the distance, yeah, Thurston's got to wonder here, how much longer can he go until he makes the decision and decides to come down and in. Joe Armstrong's just gotten up to his 40th lap. The number 22 machine on a roll. Admittedly, maybe we thought he was going to be a little bit more back and forth after getting by Chase Schaefer, but he's got himself in a spot where I think he's just going to hold himself through for the rest of the way. If everything were to go all green, he's going to be in a real good position to take it from here and not have much to worry about. There's Chase Schaefer. He's down to the bottom side, and he will quickly make the pass. That's going to get him back on the lead lap. A fast move in that number 99, and Joe Armstrong, as such, going to be a little bit further behind the 99, maybe on the way back out, but that's the consequence. Undercuts and trying to go a little bit longer. We'll see which one plays out to be the victor. Although I think, based on some previous experiences, maybe drivers like Chase Schaefer are playing it the best way right now. Now, with Schaefer getting through here, we're going to discuss the opportunity for him to win this race and why perhaps it's the best way to go. For the drivers who decide to stay out on the circuit, as it stands, I believe for Chase Schaefer and that company, they're going to have the opportunity to run the second and final pit stop stint out longer, which will be the third stint overall for the race for the drivers who went down under caution. Basically, that breaks down to indicate that these drivers, such as Schaefer, will have more time and more track position by the time guys like Joe Armstrong come back out. So, with Joe and company trying to run a little bit longer instead, they're going to hinder themselves in the long term if they don't have the speed to catch back up. It's one thing to be very quick with that clean air, but if you end up in the dirty air and get blocked up, bad news. Jim Thurston knows that for certain, and right now he's been blocked by Aiden Walker for a good dozen laps, maybe a dozen and a half. Aiden Walker's just been able to put the fence down unlike any other here in that number 93. Jim Thurston making his way down the back straightaway, and it's now 3.5 tenths off, so Thurston admittedly not hitting his stride in regards to getting a pass. I think the focus now is about heading down to pit road and resetting from there. Right now, Jim Thurston deciding to go down to the bottom. Aiden Walker up to the high side, nearly coming together. Brendan Dugan now going to be there in fourth. Jason Chilton rounds out the top five no longer, and Chilton finds himself one lap down, as does Michael Deitch, Scott Wilkerson, and Henry Kaloff. Chilton will be the next man to get himself back up onto the lap. River Page now finds himself, according to timing and scoring, in the 5th position, and that's because although he's 19 seconds behind your leader, he has simply not come down just yet, and looks like he's going to go as long as possible, maybe hoping to get a freak yellow flag out of it. Of course, would be the end goal for any driver in a position like this. Right now, looks like no luck for River. He's going to be passed again. That's going to be Scott Wilkerson in number 70, looking high and having to do the hard work around the corner. Wilkerson with a quick move, and as such, in 10th place now. Scott maybe going to get a chance to cycle up further as Jim Thurston comes down and in. All he has to do here is not miss his pit stall, and he will maintain the championship lead. That is what this comes down to. Thurston now on his way. He's got pit road all to himself, and the 96 drops in alone. Yeah, he makes it down to his pit stall quite easily. That's exactly what he needed to do, and that is what is done. Alexander Valderas is going to fly by, and while River Page is going to temporarily once again regain the championship lead, that is all because Thurston has made it down to pit road, and now he's on his way out of pit road. The time through is a 37.9, which is currently the best time out of anyone. Thurston with another nice execution after that first lap bobble. He has now been on the way and gotten red hot. Thurston, the quick time through pit road and the time to beat. Brendan Dugan now going to be on his way in, as is River Page. Page now looking for something quick as well. Joe Armstrong is going to come through, and he almost hits the pit barrier, and he's going to have to lock it down with a little bit of hesitation. The smoke billowing for just a moment, and Al Armstrong making it through as well. Coming out of pit road this time by Brandon Dugan with a 37.7, no, a 38.3. River Page now follows behind Thurston once more. As Joe Armstrong comes right ahead of him, Page gets right back out. The pit stop time for River Page is a 38.7, not quick enough to best Jim Thurston, and still won't be all too much. Efforts will, unfortunately for him, prove futile. It's going to be River Page now in 10th and getting passed around by Chase Schaefer, who's now cycled up to 2nd. Aiden Walker has to come down to pit road, and it looks like he has gone a little bit too long. Everyone else has decided to go down and in, and Walker holding himself out for the longest possible. He's going to lose quite a bit of track position, I believe, here as Schaefer comes across the line and will bring Balderas, Chilton, Armstrong, and his company right with. You're looking at two noticeably different strategies right now playing out in one screen. Chase Schaefer, who went with the strategy of deciding to not go down a pit road under caution, and he has played it out to the fullest to get back to the lead from the point he is. Then you got River Page, who has not had the best opportunity, of course, the number 24 machine trying to make something happen and then getting caught up with an incident under green, and now River finds himself way back. The reason being he went down a pit road for a pass-through penalty. Now River trying to get himself back going. He's in the single digits now, and as is Jim Thurston, the gap between positions is now 4 spots from 5th to 9th. Still, being that far back, not going to be easy to get a grip on. And Jim Thurston now going to be with a bit of a better opportunity for Henry Kaloff and Jason Chilton, who are ahead of him with older tires. Maybe now it could be Thurston's time to take some spots back as he goes forward. He's in 5th as it stands, and the goal might be next up, 19/10ths of a second ahead. That's Henry Kaloff, and an additional 14 up, it is going to be Jason Chilton. So in a span of about 40 laps, Thurston's going to have to make up 40/10ths of a second to pass the both of them if he wants to succeed in making up his positions for a podium, at least an opportunity for a top 3 when it's all said and done. Jim Thurston now going to be pushing to get up to Henry Kaloff, and you can see, well, Kaloff has come right back to him. Henry going to have a little opportunity here, so he goes down to the inside line, going to block in a similar way as he did to Daniel Mosteller with less contact. The 63 goes down low, and it looks like that block will prove to be very little, if anything, and Thurston gets by without having to try all too hard. That will move Thurston into 4th here, and Jason Chilton the next target, and he's 1.8 seconds out. It looks like over a second has already been slashed, and now Thurston, I don't think he's got an opportunity to get back up to Joe Armstrong at this rate. It's going to be a head-to-head battle, perhaps between the likes of Armstrong and Schaefer for the win, but Thurston might be your best man to go for 3rd, and that's what the number 96 can do here. Thurston now holding himself in a very good position to just chase down Chilton and then go from there. We've gotten down to the halfway marker here, 50% through and 50% to go. Schaefer, Armstrong, Chilton, and Thurston, the top 4 as it stands, and Schaefer will lead us back to start the second half. Thurston now coming across the way, less than a second to go to get right back up at Chilton. '96 of Thurston, right there in 4th. He's holding it right behind Jason Chilton. 0.6 of a second here, and it looks like River Page also making up some spots. Trying to get one here on Scott Wilkerson. Page, unfortunately for his cause, is he's only got one driver to really pass in this stint unless he makes up 10 seconds on Aiden Walker, which is very, very unlikely. Down to the inside, Page looking to make this one easy. It's going to be a move up into 8th for River. Scott Wilkerson is going to end up sent down into the 9th spot as Jim Thurston now coming up on Jason Chilton is looking to match River. Up high, 4th place coming through, and it could be now Thurston looking for 3rd. Chilton going to hold him off, and on old tires again in a very similar spot. Chilton, we'll see how long until he backs off here, knowing it might be the only chance he gets to remain in 3rd. didn't have enough. Thurston now moves into third, and Jason Chilton falls back. And sometimes we wonder how long the driver wants to go at it. Well, it looks like today, the 96 of Jim Thurston having enough to just push a driver out of the way without much a battle. Now, Brendan Dugan looking up on Henry Kaloff. Dugan, who's in his own fight for third in the championship standings, has effectively won it. He now finds himself there running in sixth. And he's got himself ahead of last place Demos, who is going to end this season on a very, very sour note. That number 87 really has not had last place pace all season. Misfortune getting caught up in the one and only caution of the day. Put him back. See that number 87 here alone. And that's the way he might end the season. 3 laps down, out of touch. And he's going to end up with his worst ever points finish of 4th at the end of the day, which might not sound all too bad. It really isn't. But Demos, it's a big step back, especially after a narrow championship defeat, which came at the hands of Sean Conklin last season. We all wondered if Daniel Mosteller could just get a full season, and would he be once again the one? This season, it did not come to pass. Aiden Walker now going to be in 7th to Henry Kaloff 6th. It looks like right now Walker has the youngest tires of anyone on the track, and he's now going to find himself looking high to get by Henry Kaloff, and it shouldn't be all too hard as Aiden pulls himself up high. He's going to come across the line, and he's got the spot. Now, coming out of turn 1, Aiden Walker going to be clearing away, making the move, and putting himself up to the front of the pack. At least this little pack he's got, which is going to include him and Henry Kaloff only. Then you get to this next group, which has Brendan Dugan and Jason Chilton. It looks like right now Chilton is still in 4th, but Brendan Dugan has slowly but surely been working back into it. 69 laps in, a nice run for Chilton, but tire wear has been the big problem for him so far. A little bit off cycle relative to the best strategy, and once another driver comes up on him, so little he can do. It looks like now Brendan Dugan looking down and under. He's clearly got the room, and he's now going to make that pass with ease. Dugan up in a 4th. So now Brendan's got himself up in that 4th position. He's right behind the lapper of Wyatt Wilkerson. Wyatt goes high, and now it's going to be Brendan Dugan, who has himself a clean track. As it stands, very little to worry about for the 55 of Dugan. Wyatt Wilkerson, though, going to be slow once again. Not the best of nights for Wyatt, and again, finding trouble early is the problem, but this time, no bailing out. It's not like Martinsville, which had the season high of 16 cautions. No, instead, we've only had 1 today, which has matched our season average, so to speak. Most races have had 1 or no cautions on the day, and you see right ahead now, Wilkerson, the side-by-side fight. Looks like Aiden Walker now additionally gets by, and Chilton is moved back into 6th. He should be at most able to stay up here inside of the 6th spot, and at the very worst, move back 1 more, which would be to Henry Kaloff. Kaloff is now 8 seconds ahead of River Page. Shouldn't have to worry about River coming, but River is still on the hunt, and he knows his championship relies on this. 6 points behind Jim Thurston, far behind enough right now where he would not win the championship if this is the way the race ended, and coming down to nearly 50 laps to go. Page still not in a very good spot. Still made some gains. He was as low as 12th previously, but as it stands, it doesn't look like there's much an opportunity for that number 24 as River makes it back in and again. 8th place, still has to make gains here as Aiden Walker might be coming up on Brendan Dugan to make another pass here. Take a look on board with the number 93. Gap between them, 4 tenths. of a second. And right now, Aiden Walker finds himself in a position where he could get up to Brendan Dugan if he pushes it hard, but I don't think there's much reason to. He's got the tire advantage of about 2 laps worth, and 2 laps might not be all too much, but it is enough to make a difference here on a lap-by-lap basis. So if Brendan Dugan just keeps doing what he's done, which might not help him out, and if Aiden Walker does what he's done, which is going to definitely help him out, he's running real good laps, we're going to find ourselves in a good position to have a battle present until the tail end of this race. It might go a little bit longer than that, of course, from this stint on to the next due to the pit cycle. Right now, Dugan with the edge, but Aiden Walker might be quick to take it back and put himself back inside 4th. Thurston has run away. He's 3 seconds ahead of Dugan right now and 4 seconds ahead of Aiden Walker. Firmly in 3rd. Meanwhile, up at the front for the race lead, Joe Armstrong is now within 2.5 seconds. He's gained about a half second per lap on Chase Schaefer. Schaefer on a 12-lap older stint. He's a 30-lap run, whereas Joe Armstrong is on an 18-lap run. And now the difference is clear. Armstrong is quicker. Chase Schaefer is slower. However you want to phrase it, we could see Chase Schaefer lose the lead in only a matter of time. Aiden Walker now going to be up inside the high side of the circuit. He almost got up to Brendan Dugan, but ended up bobbling the position. And now with a little bit of that crumple on the right side, Walker going to be more determined than ever to make the pass. He goes down low. He's got it down and in. Walker makes the move. Aiden Walker goes up in a 4th, and now it's going to be Brendan Dugan rounding out the top 5. .50 laps to go this season, and now coming down to the home stretch, Aiden Walker going to make another quick pass, and he finds himself ahead now of Brendan Dugan. A quick update on the championship standings as we speak. Jim Thurston, tentatively speaking, he is your championship leader and would come home as the winner tonight if this race ended where we were. Then you got River Page, who finds himself now in 8th. Not the best of nights for River. He finds himself now, of course, 2nd in the championship battle. He's going to have to make up a spot or 2 here to have a chance to even tie it up. And now, Brendan Dugan firmly in 3rd as it stands. And it's going to be Daniel Mosteller 4th in the title battle overall. Not his night. He's not dead last, but 13th now. He's still not good enough to get up to the lead lap and fight with Brendan Dugan, who now clearly has 3rd all to himself. Honorable mention, so to speak, even though most of the drivers he's fighting with in the points are not here tonight. Henry Kaloff, who comes in the 8th position, has the potential to go all the way up into as high as 5th if tonight goes his way. Currently, we're predicting that he's going to come out 6th in the championship standings, come out just behind Jacob Wilkerson, and that's the way his season will end. However, he comes in 44 back on the leader, 38 back was Wilkerson on your championship leader. The gap is 6 points. We're predicting he'll come in right behind Wilkerson, if not just barely get the spot. All eyes on Kaloff to make a major points gain at the end of the day and move into the top 5 when we get to checkered flag. 79 laps in though, so we still got a ways to go to predict whether or not that is correct. 0.6 of a second back now. Aiden Walker finds himself ahead of Brendan Dugan, and Dugan not able to make his way back in, even though Walker has damage. He made that pass the 2nd time, and he made sure nobody would get right by him here. Alexander Balderas is going to go 2 laps down now, and it's going to be Joe Armstrong coming across the back straight, and he's got Chase Schaefer right ahead of him. The gap less than a half second now. .4 of a second and counting down. The number 22 machine of Armstrong making his way through on the main straight. 81 laps in. Armstrong was 8-9 seconds back when this stint began, and he's been able to close in lap after lap, second after second, almost the entire distance that he's pulled through. Well, he's made it all naturally under green, making it down to the end of this one. It's going to be the number 22 machine getting up there on Schaefer. They're going to be hooking each other up the track, bumper to bumper. Schaefer's in the wall, and Joe Armstrong goes down and in. 2 Road to Pro drivers, one of which who made it in as a top 5 in points in that series. Well, now he's the one who's leading. Say hello to Joe. Armstrong going to be tagged, and it looks like Armstrong now quick enough to make it happen. I don't even think he needed to go going to the point of making contact with Schaefer. That's how much faster he is. He's going to get in the wall nonetheless, and now Schaefer trying to run him down the back straightaway. Well, how about that for the theatrics here? And you'd think, with how much quicker Armstrong was, it would be a one and done, a quick pass without no trouble. Looks like Chase Schaefer not going to be happy about that one. He tried to put the bumper down and then some. Well, Schaefer now going to find himself second, 83 laps in out of 125. And as always here, iRacing Motorsport Simulations is a broadcasting software that we use for the sim racing that you're seeing on your screen. For the world's most advanced online racing simulator, check out iRacing.com. Coming up on its 16th anniversary as a platform, we just had a fantastic new update. Rain got added a few months ago. Additionally, there's new street stock bodies have come out, and it's a more immersive simulator each and every day. Check out iRacing Motorsport Simulations. In, of course, a few moments' time, we'll get back to the racing after a quick word from iRacing.com.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
86 laps in at 125. Chase Schaefer goes down a pit road from second on the board, and Henry Kaloff going to be passed by River Page. Page is on the way up. Jason Chilton next, and all of a sudden it looks like now maybe River Page not going to be too safe. Being the championship winner no longer, he's going to be in true jeopardy. It could be a back and forth balance. The limbo game is on. Thurston up to second. Page now going to be up in a sixth. Now it's going to all come down to what Page can do here. Jason Chilton could be the next driver he passes. He has been with a head full of steam all throughout this run, but Rivers got to keep this in mind. With 30 laps on his stint, he still has more than 15 to go, and when he comes down to pit road at about lap 100, he'll only have 25 left, which means that he'll most likely cycle back one more time. And he's going to be in much more of a position where he has to go. He might burn up his stuff as a result. I think right now, while things are looking up for River Page, he's got to account for the fact that next stint is the one, as Scott Wilkerson finds himself coming down and in once again. Wilkerson hoping not to miss his stall, as River Page is now half a second away from Jason Chilton here. River, he has made his way into the limelight, and all of a sudden, maybe an opportunity, at least briefly, to get inside the top 5 is upon him. And we thought the opportunity for Chase Schaefer, of course, to win was out of the picture, but he looks like he's back on the track. We'll see what he can do from here. Maybe the short stint's going to help him out and getting that lead back again, but it could come down to the last lap, as it could right now for River Page. Page is getting this long run in, so an opportunity to explore. And maybe the best thing he can do is stay with Chilton right now and run that similar strategy so he doesn't lose too much time to him. But I don't know, because then Chilton's going to run his best laps while River Page is running his worst, and it's going to be that cycle all over again, which might put the 24 a little bit further out of contention than he'd need to be in order to put himself in the championship fight one final time. Cannot fall below 8th at this point. If he does, he's in a really bad position, especially because Thurston is the effective third-place driver on the day right now. As long as he keeps his spot and keeps his track position, Page cannot afford to be 9th, even 8th. Maybe he can hold on for 7th, but it's not going to be good if he doesn't get anything else out of it. We've only had one caution today, and that came more than 80 laps ago. We're getting down to the home stretch here. There's still a lot of questions in the air, as it looks like now River Page making his way through into the 5th spot. He's waiting for that pit cycle to come to pass. Still a few more drivers we're waiting on. Include Jason Chilton, Henry Kaloff, Michael Deitch, who all have to come down to pit road very soon here. They've been admittedly a bit slower than those drivers on the second strategy. The only one who's been a big outlier so far has been Chase Schaefer, and he's get himself back potentially on the lead lap as soon as Joe Armstrong, of course, lets him by. Armstrong up here. We'll see how nice they play each other. Pit stop times have been just over a lap so far, so Schaefer might be able to get back in the race lead at least tentatively, but it all comes down to how well Armstrong runs. That time by 34.826, whereas Chase Schaefer ran a 33.145, and now here comes the 55 of Brendan Dugan. That's Page's teammate, deciding to go in early here, 92 laps in out of 125, and Dugan makes the call, and that will bring Henry Kaloff. Kaloff signals in, and it looks like it will be that two, the pair that make it in on lap number 92, and Joe Armstrong will signal the start of 93. So Joe Armstrong still having a few connection issues along the way. Aiden Walker now going to be within half a second of Jim Thurston again. Now it looks like Jim maybe an opportunity here to battle back. Perhaps if he gets past here, it could be bad news, of course. And we talk about how tight the points race is. Thurston has to stay inside the podium, and for River Page, he has to stay inside of the top 7 to be safe. It's a back-and-forth game, and it looks like Jason Chilton has decided to go and play it down a pit road. Brendan Dugan, Henry Kaloff, Chase Schaefer, and Scott Wilkerson have gone down a pit road. Waiting on your front 4 now, Armstrong, Thurston, Walker, Page will be the deciding factor, and River, if he goes down to pit road, will go 2 laps down, effectively speaking. It looks like, at least for a little bit of time, he will be 2 down to Joe Armstrong, and that's why he's holding himself out a little bit longer here. 38 laps in, and he's going to decide to go until as long as possible, of course, which might bring him up to about lap 100. If all goes well, Michael Deitch going to come down to pit road here, and he's 2 laps down indeed, as Henry Kaloff now going to be a bit slow down the apron. Not quite sure what's going on with Kaloff here, but he gets it back together and is on the way. Joe Armstrong is going to let Chase Schaefer go by, and now Schaefer is on the 1 lap down cycle. Means Armstrong's going to have himself a rival for the final 30 laps. Unfortunately, Armstrong is very hard to follow for tonight. With the consistent back and forth of his connection, we haven't been able to give a lot of focus to the driver who's led the majority of the way, given the fact he has not been on the track for a good portion of the action, shall we say. Now, coming down in this time by, while Chase Schaefer is continuing to cycle up, it's going to be Thurston, Page coming into pit road at the same time, and it looks like River going to be falling back further and further here. He's been on pit road for about 35 seconds. He gets back, and he's going to cycle up in front of Chilton and Schaefer. River Page might have just played the strategy call of the year. Does he end up getting passed here by Chilton? No, nor does he by Chase Schaefer. And Page is back in the fight. So, provisionally speaking, River Page might just be inside the top 5 for certain, and it looks like he's been able to drive as hard as he could, driving his tail off to get to this point. We saw him pass Chilton, we saw him get by Kaloff, and now he's ahead of them for good here. I think that could be the nail in the coffin for Jim Thurston's run, but it's now going to be 4 positions which separate him. Brendan Dugan now trying to play that defense for his teammate. Goes up to the higher side, that number 55, and the Haggard Electrical Machine moves into second. Jim Thurston back down to third. And Thurston, the first time all throughout this event since the first caution, is no longer your championship leader. Bad news for the 96. He is wiggling almost out of control, trying to get himself back on the way, but it looks like something has gone awry, and the number 96 crew is now fading back. River Page, while he might not be able to get up there in his physical form, he's gotten the position back up into 5th. An unbelievable run up for River, who has just about done everything right on the climb up, and now he's here. Aiden Walker is going to find himself alone in 4th, but that might change, and if he gets knocked off the podium, that is it for Jim Thurston. Alexander Balderas is going to be in the wall, and he ends up going much slower down the back straightaway, but he's all going to be good to go again as we come across the line. Balderas is 2 laps down in 11th. Not one of his best days, and unfortunately a somber end to his performance here in this season. Schaefer finds himself in 7th, and it looks like that first strategy did not play out the best tonight. Joe Armstrong and company have done it all, and Armstrong now leads from Brendan Dugan in 2nd, and Jim Thurston just got past Aiden Walker, now making his way up to 3rd, and Page is in a position where he can lock up the championship. If he is now only 1 spot behind Thurston, he would be good to lock things up. 100 laps in out of 125 coming down to the home stretch here, and these drivers, they know it. It's not good at all for a driver like Thurston, but for Joe Armstrong, he's now going to clock him down and get to the tail end with his power, his own power now. Aiden Walker in 3rd. Not a bad way to end this season. He's been on a part-time campaign, so we've seen him more in the second half of the season, but when we have seen him, he's been a top 5 driver. And once again, looking to show that he's still got the speed. It's been several seasons since he competed full-time, but nevertheless, he's still there, and he still looks to have what it takes. Walker is going to be in 3rd tonight and might be able to finish that way if all were to go well. Wyatt Wilkerson is now going to be coming up on Alexander Balderas, and that he does. Balderas moves down to dead last. Wyatt Wilkerson up to 13th. And in other news, Daniel Mosteller has gotten back up to 11th from last on the day, so a little bit of a recovery there as Aiden Walker is now looking for 2nd. This would be Walker's first podium of the season, and how about that number 93 coming back into his form, his prime form, and he's done all this at the very last moments of the season. Why not go out with a bang? That's the mentality right now for the 93, and he is there. 93 goes up high, and the number 55 at Dugan, well, he can't really do all too much about it. Side by side, Walker gets his own room, and so does Brendan Dugan. They'll keep upon each other, and it looks like now Brendan just going to be within arm's reach of that 93. Across the line, advantage Walker, and Aiden gets up to 2nd with 103 laps to go. Coming this time by to 22 laps remaining. We'd once again like to thank our camera provider live on FTN TrackCams22.com, providing high quality iRacing cameras. The best broadcasters choose the best cameras, and there's no other besides TrackCams22.com. Visit Facebook.com/TrackCams for more information, and we will return after cranking it up for the final time with 22 laps to go in the season finale of Season 5 here at the IORA Cup Series. Now, with 16 laps to go on the season, Jim Thurston, try as he may, might actually lose that spot to River Page. Page has been driving the wheels off of this 24 all night long. We saw him alone to start. He made the passes in the mid-pack, and he cycled up to 5th. Now, 4 seconds away from Jim Thurston, even if he already has the championship potentially locked up. Could maybe get a little bit more out of it here, so long as there is no caution. And right now, every driver in the field is separate by more than 1 second. There will be very little risk of a caution the way things are going. Joe Armstrong is far and away ahead. Aiden Walker's there in 2nd. Brendan Dugan is 3rd. And Jim Thurston is 4th. All going to be separate by a total of 14 seconds now. The top 4 is broken up by 6 drivers on the lead lap. And it goes back to Jason Chilton. Despite the fact that Chilton's been struggling all day long with that tire wear, he eventually made it happen. And that number 80 Chevy Camaro, well, putting himself in a good position, and he's found himself now just outside of the top 5. So not a bad second career race, and we're going to see a lot more out of him in his first full-time season. Next time around, when we come back from that summer vacation, watch out for Jason Chilton. Maybe a name to look out for in the future here. He could be up next as a first-time race winner in IORA. We know one thing, well, Joe Armstrong is by no means a first-time race winner here in this league. He's done it before. Maybe there's a chance for him to do it again. Armstrong now ahead by 6 seconds. And Aiden Walker's right there in the runner-up spot. Brendan Dugan 3rd, and Jim Thurston is in 4th. Top 4 guys separate by 15.6 seconds here, and it continues to be a breakaway up in front. Now, if you look back, well, Braxton Whitaker 12th. He actually is no longer. He up to 11th, while Daniel Mosteller is in 12th. Not many gains for Demos tonight, and it's not going to be the way he'd like to end it. Michael Deitch maybe going to make it out with a top 10 finish. Scott Wilkerson, single digits, but he is 1 lap down in 9th. Alexander Balderas and Wyatt Wilkerson have been trading dead last. It looks like now Wilkerson is 14th and last. Balderas gets back up into 13th, and the home stretch is here. Lappers and leaders alike coming up to the final stretch of the season. Chase Schaefer has gone 1 lap down, and it looks like now he is much slower. His strategy call did not end up being the one to win, and he's going to drift down and low, and he is all out of sorts. Schaefer not feeling real good about the car here right now, and it is evident by the way he's driving. Up high, trying to rip the top, but he's really gotten very little out of it now. Henry Kaloff now trying to come up on Alexander Balderas. Maybe now we see Kaloff trying to make the move for 7th. He's 1 second behind Chase Schaefer, and the opportunity is right ahead of him. Schaefer's, oh my goodness, take a look at how low he's going. Schaefer again is going to dive all the way down and in, and you can see he's just not getting anything out of the car right now, trying something, trying anything. And even though, of course, not a full-time competitor, he's looking for any opportunity to make something stick, even though it really hasn't worked all too well. Aiden Walker right now in 2nd, goes all the way down, and Schaefer's in the wall. Chase Schaefer stuck up high, and here comes Henry Kaloff. Kaloff, maybe with an opportunity now to gain 7th out of all this. He is right there. Chase Schaefer working down the back straightaway on his lonesome. Could be lonely no longer. It's the 63 of Henry Kaloff coming right in. Drifting loose, drifting looser. Chase Schaefer again, nearly out of control. 9 laps to go. The Monster Designs machine is all out of sorts, and it looks like right now getting a little bit looser off these corners each and every time. That number 63, he's been watching, and he's got the best seat in the house here. He might be able to make a pass. The gap is now less than 1/4 of a second, and the closing rate is rapid. Now it's going to be a pack of multiple drivers trying to make the push in, even though that's a lapper, or rather a leader. The lappers are now getting up into this. It's going to be Aiden Walker going up high. Wyatt Wilkerson also there. 8 to go. And Kaloff now sees Walker as an enemy. And he's going to make his way through. Walker quickly getting the pass on the 63. All of a sudden, it looks like now Aiden going to interject himself into this battle. And Chase Schaefer, he's just got to keep it straight right now if he wants to hold on to the position. Maybe for the next lap or two, that's all he really needs to do. He wiggles once, he wiggles twice, he wiggles 3 times. Chase Schaefer is now trying to block a leader there, and it looks like it's eventually Walker who gets around the way and parks it up top. The 93 is going to go for a much different line through the corner and still gets the pass. Schaefer now, well, it looks like he's got to run, and he's going to stay right in tow. Schaefer, though, decides to go down to the bottom side, and he's going to surge back in front, sending it so deep, he'll go right up the track. Chase Schaefer now is in no mood to play around, but it looks like he's playing around the wrong way, trying to keep it ahead of Kaloff, now working side by side with Walker. Aiden going to try to send the message, and I think he just sent it. Message delivered. Kaloff is now going to come up to Schaefer, who's once again scraping the wall, and Chase is looking for an out. However he can get it, this could be the reset that, of course, I don't think any driver wants any longer, but Chase Schaefer racing awful hard, and in times like this, when you see a driver is noticeably frustrated, sometimes you end up with a caution. Daniel Mosteller is going to go around. We are headed to overtime. Unrelated to Chase Schaefer at all, Daniel Mosteller involved in a potentially 2-car incident. Here he comes down to the inside, and Balderas blocks once. He blocks twice. What was that? I don't believe it was intentional, but Balderas clearly hooked Mosteller down unnecessarily, and this changes everything. Take a look back one more time. Alexander Balderas has been disqualified after the action here that you're seeing on your screen. Now, why with 6 laps to go would this happen? It is beyond me, it's beyond the field, and Balderas is the only driver in the series with multiple disqualifications under IORA rule. Now, his first came in an offshoot series on Saturdays. This is his second, and it comes in the main series in the final race. And I think that's going to be the proper treatment here. We're watching River Page. What's he going to do here? Pit road is busy, and who comes out first of your championship rivals? Well, it looks to be Page. Then it's going to be Chase Schaefer coming out. Jim Thurston might be up next. Thurston, we're watching him. He is going to come out perhaps after Chilton. Jason Chilton going to follow out immediately after the driver, the number 24, River Page. Here comes Thurston now. So, it looks like it's going to be Thurston 3 spots away from River Page in a 2-lap shootout unlike any other. This is intense, and I can't imagine the field is all too happy with Alexander Balderas. Reading the driver communication is going to be the real telling marker. We might be thinking big punishment there for the 95. I cannot believe it. This is going to change potentially the way this season goes down. And River Page, well, now he's going to have to fight again. He's there up in front. Jim Thurston in the 96 is in 6th. River in 4th. He's still got a slight advantage. Tire swerving. Aiden Walker in the number 93. Walker finds himself there in the 2nd spot. tenth and a half out on Joe Armstrong. It's the 93 making his move through. Brendan Dugan going to be third, and River Page then fourth. It's Chilton fifth. Jim Thurston is in sixth, and Chase Schaefer is seventh. Fine eighth place, that's Henry Kaloff. And ninth is Dan Mosteller. Wyatt Wilkerson does Wyatt Wilkerson things. He's back inside the top 10 after what's been admittedly an abysmal day. It's there. Might be able to finish off with the top 10 when all is settled here. The dust, it just got kicked up big, and now it's time to go for it. 2 more laps. The most important 2 laps of the season, not only for the win, but for the championship. 2 faces, 2 names. River Page and the number 24 finding himself now in 5th. Right behind him, Jim Thurston, 6th place. It looks like he's going to be there with the 96 right beside. Here comes Thurston, and he's going to be with his championship rival all over again. River and Thurston, they've been at each other's throats for the better part of 14 races. They'll give each other a door bump. I think that's the signal. All bets are off. Page gets in line. He'll be right beside Brendan Dugan, and they've been working together all season long. Thurston, he's got nobody to work with right now. It is going to be no holds barred. Jason Chilton, who's been an impressive rookie tonight, he's the only driver right now around that number 96, but I don't think he'll play into this in the slightest. Now it's going to be 2 laps to go. Natural green-white checker, this is not. This is your first overtime, and it might just be your only to send Season 5 home. First, we must get through 2 more laps. Green flags out. The outside gets a huge jump. River Page is inside the podium. Watching on board now with Jim Thurston. He's got to make the move of a lifetime to even get up there to Page. And it looks like River gets the nice run. Cautions out. We'll go to double overtime. Braxton Whitaker, Scott Wilkerson, Michael Deitch involved. We are going to your second overtime attempt. Here is the instant replay. Let's do this once again. It's going to be the number 51 of Braxton Whitaker right in the mist. And it looks like, yeah, Deitch got loose on his own. Collects Whitaker, Wilkerson, Mosteller again. Mosteller has been involved 3 for 3 in incidents today, none of which caused by him. You could debate the first caution. But either way, Mosteller has been the victim of victims tonight, and the caution is out again. So, let's do it double overtime style here in IORA. Joe Armstrong and Aiden Walker find themselves the top 2. Third is River Page. 5th is Jim Thurston. Once again, those 2 drivers are going to be as tight as they can be on this restart. So, second overtime. Let's talk about overtime procedure here. We didn't really get a chance to mention it with all the theatrics going on the circuit. Now, we're in our second of 3 overtime attempts. 127 laps in out of 129. We'll be moving this finish to about lap 131. I believe that's where we're going to end up finishing this one off. 127 laps in we currently are. We've got a few more caution laps. That will potentially end the day. From here, we have 1 more caution on our potential agenda. If we get that caution, we'll extend the race 1 more time, and that would be the final extension. If we end up under yellow 2 more times from here, the race ends no matter what, and timing and scoring loops determine who finishes where. That is how the third overtime could end. If we get to the white flag, in any circumstance, the race is official, and that will be the final lap. Checkers and or wreckers. So the goal now, get to the white flag. That will end the race. That will end the season, and we will determine a champion and race winner based on that final lap, whenever it may be. I'm going to cross the stripe 1 more time. It's going to be Thurston and Page looking to go different lanes. And now high-low. It's the game of the choose rule. See now, Thurston is opting to start right behind his rival in River Page. 3 laps to go, make it 2 this time by, and as it was in the previous restart, it might just be even closer. Now, River Page sees his championship fate in its rear view mirror. Thurston could do anything here. Wants to. If he were to be aggressive, might be able to get away with it. If he wants to pull a slick move down to the inside off quick, he could go for it. If Jim Thurston here can be calm on the start and get wild later, that he can. And now, it's time to figure this out. River Page, of course, controls his destiny, and Jim's as well. He controls the restart for the 96 as much as the 96 controls his. This is what it's all about. Coming around this time by for what's only going to be 2 more laps of racing. Green flags out. They're bumping and banging. Now we're back on the way, side by side to 1. And it's going to be Chase Schaefer taking it 3 wide immediately down to the corner. Expect some contact here as we look from the wide camera. Jim Thurston right up high on River Page. Side by side. Thurston is going to hold it, and he'll keep it 3 wide all the way up top. Now, Jim Thurston with an opportunity to make a pass or 2. Kaloff into the 24. Almost there, and they'll remain side by side for 1 more lap. Final lap of the season. It's going to be Armstrong up in front, and the battle for the championship is side by side. Aiden Walker trying to get up there with Armstrong. They'll be side by side. They're beating and banging, and Thurston is going to wreck. Thurston goes around, spinning with Wyatt Wilkerson and Aiden Walker. Now Brendan Dugan and Joe Armstrong get away. Chase Schaefer is there with River Page. The championship has been decided. Joe Armstrong, dominant all day long, will come out of turn 4 and win the season 5 finale. River Page will finish in 5th, and he will become season 5's champion. River Page is in the IORA history books as a Cup Series champion. River becomes the 4th driver in 5 seasons to win the award. Brendan Dugan already going to meet his teammate at the line. What an honor and what an accomplishment it is for this team who said last season they didn't feel like they were the best. This season, no doubt, they were the best. Taking a Polish victory lap and trying to go for a little bit of a drift right with it. River Page celebrating in only a way he knows how. What a season for Page. A breakout season, perhaps long overdue. We've seen him as a winning contender for seasons here. He came in season 2, late season 2. And already established himself by then as a top 10 driver. He became a top 5 guy by the end of season 3 and ended up a multi-time race winner through his accolades in season 3 and 4. But he wasn't the best until here and now. To open 2024, River Page is your champion. Results from tonight's event go as follows. Joe Armstrong pulls home the win, and what a win it was for Armstrong there. Brendan Dugan, he's going to finish third in the championship standings after another fantastic performance. He gets it done. He's going to come through in second, and it's Chase Schaefer who rebounds against all odds to get there in third. Fourth place is going to be occupied by Henry Kaloff, and fifth is River Page. Daniel Mosteller is sixth, and Jason Shilton is in seventh. Braxton Whitaker eighth, Aiden Walker ninth, and Jim Thurston is in 10th. 11th place then from there is going to be occupied by Wyatt Wilkerson. Michael Deitch is 12th. Scott Wilkerson is in 13th. And Alexander Balderas is 14th. Carlos Truther, the 15th and final driver on the day. Now, we're going to first speak to your 5th place finisher tonight. It's an exception, but he is your champion, River Page. What a season. Tonight, maybe not one of his best races, but he still pulls through, and he gets the job done. The championship still being his at long last. How about that for the 24 team? Let's bring him in right now. River Page, the 4th driver ever to become an IORA Cup Series champion, and in the most exciting fashion we've seen, double overtime survival and a drive of a lifetime to get back up to that position. You looked to be down and out by lap number 50, and you came back and took control. River Page, you're a champion in the IORA Cup Series. Can you believe it?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I just want to say that this is the most scuffed year. I got really lucky by having some drivers not be able to do all their races, but my goodness, I thought I was done there. I got a penalty that I didn't know was a thing, and I really thought it was over. I was pretty mad at myself. I was just kind of sulking. I had a deafen in the race jet, and then I was hoping we'd ever get a caution there, so I could just get back up in the back of the pack. I was pretty confident I could get back up to the wherever I needed to be, is like top 5 to beat Thurston. But as the race went on, I kind of realized that if I could I could just keep making up spots. I had a lot of pace, especially since I pitted right before I got a penalty, and I took tires, so I was able to run back up to the top 10 pretty quickly. And then I realized that all I needed to do was finish like 6th or 7th, because Thurston was no one was going to catch Joe. And then Chase gave us both a spot. It didn't really do anything. And so I had it in the bag there. I was 1 spot behind Thurston. And then I really hope you didn't even look at the wreck that happened. It was pretty disgraceful, but it stacked us up. And then we got going again, and I was about to walk away with it there. And then they wrecked again. And then Thurston actually got alongside me on that last run, because I had a bad restart. I jacked up Joe a little bit. I did that this year with Chase too. It's just a mistake I made multiple times. It was pretty stupid, but Thurston got alongside me, and I kind of thought I threw it away for a second there, and then I think I saw him get spun in my mirror. But yeah, it feels good, man. This is I've been racing in IORA for like 2 years now. It's like my 4th season. That's my 3rd full-time season now. I think I've been 3rd, 2nd, and 1st now. So man, it's nice. It feels good to finally be a winner in something. I've won some races, but I've never really been a champion, so it's awesome.
We mentioned the turnover from last season to this one. You were able to come home, and I think this is what really started your momentum. The race at Martinsville we had last season, you came home with your first and only win of that campaign, and you mentioned you didn't feel much like a championship contender, but this season you turned it around. It looks like something clicked. Maybe something inside of the cockpit, just working on things and perfecting your technique. You think anything changed in regards to your attitude to get you here?
I mean, I think I just got better, and I love this car so much. It suits my driving style way more than the Next Gen ever did. I don't know. I started caring a little less, just having more fun, as being positive, and especially when I won 2 real races this season, and Kansas was a really big momentum shift, because I really dominated that race. So I felt like I had some of the best pace in this season. I feel like if Chase ran the whole season, he would have been able to contend with me, and obviously Thurston was right there. And props to Jim, because he's always been the better driver. He's already a champion here, so he gave me a good fight, and he made it fun all the way up until the end. I mean, I was right behind him, and then I was way ahead of him in the points, and he closed it back down. So a lot of competition. I think just being with this group of guys always helps too. I think if you ask Dugan more than anyone, or some of the drivers that haven't been as good in the past, that just gotten better by just racing a lot here. I think I've been able to learn a lot from my peers, my IORA peers, and been able to kind of put it together this year.
Putting together the best that you have, River. I want to focus one more time on that specific run we had from about lap 15 to 100. You mentioned you had to go silent on communications and basically lock yourself in. But we've never had a chance to really see anyone try that because we've never seen as many green flag runs here in IORA. Do you think the better racing we've seen here this season prepared you for a moment like that?
Yeah, definitely. It's the fact that we've got so many clean races this year has really I've been able to learn how to save and learn how to treat these longer runs, and I've been able to I almost beat Chase, and I beat I was really good at Chicagoland, I think. Yeah, no, it was Kansas. I was really good at Kansas on the long runs. I knew that I had good pace, but I thought I was out of it there. But just the fact that we got another green run, it's been such a good year. We may have low driver counts, but the races have been so good this year, especially when we have more people. It's just this year more than any year we've had such great racing. I'm really proud of everyone. It's been super fun, and just the fact that I was able to get so much experience in long runs. I've really like the races this year were probably the first, either than like a big I don't know, like say an NR Night e-ticket race, that I've really been able to week in and week out actually have to take green flag pit stops. I feel like we had green flag pit stops in basically every race. So it's just the better racing, I think, helps out, and really helped for today because that was the longest green run we've had. It was it was over 100 laps, so the longest race, and we went from lap 11 to lap 120. So 110 laps green. It's just it's hard. I'm really hot in here. It was difficult, but yeah, just the longer runs it prepared me especially. So I'm glad we got to do that.
How about that, River? Perhaps the most impressive run that we've seen here. Not a win, but the comeback to seal the championship when all seems to be out of luck. Unbelievable. River, once again, thank you for your time this season. If you have any final shout outs you'd like to make, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'd just like to shout out you, of course, always putting on good coverage, and Flopper Racing and Pacism. Me and Jim won too. And Haggard Electrical and Monster Designs and everyone else that's on my car. Just a great season. And shout out to Mason. He did a good job, even though I give him a lot of crap during the races. No hate on Alex, but he really turned this league around, and this season's been awesome. So.
And a fantastic season with a champion deserving of the title. River Page, thank you for your time.
Thank you, David.
River on the move. Unbelievable job for him. Unfortunately, Joe Armstrong not available. But how about, I would say, the most improved driver of this season? Third place in the championship. You lock it up. Brendan Dugan, second on the day. And a P3 in the points to go with it. How does it feel making it happen at the very end and pulling through for, once again, a tie for your all-time best finish? And you've gotten yourself 2 podiums in the last 4 races.
It does feel pretty good. I think I've improved a lot this season, to be honest, especially compared to season 3, season 4. I'm kind of a playoff merchant with the points reset and everything, but I can't be happier with how the season went for me. I didn't even think I had a shot at maybe even top 5 in points. And I did get kind of lucky with most wrecking out early, going some laps down, but I'm just really happy with that finish. We had some issues with Joe blinking and stuff. I don't think I could have beat him off just raw pace, so I can't really be mad, but I don't know. I can't be happier with how this season went. Being in the top 3 for the point standings at the end of the season is unreal to me. I'm just I'm very pleased with how this went. I can't be any happier.
And a great way to end the season here. You know what? We got to talk about that improvement a little bit more. We saw some flashes last season, maybe getting a little bit better race after race in the second half, but this season, much more consistent. With the playoff formula we had, you had to be consistent to even get to the very end. What do you think about this season compared to maybe the others helped you out? You think the Xfinity cars might have been all that helped you, or was there something else behind the scenes?
So, talking to some other drivers, really helped me improve. With the help of Jim Thurston, River Page, Chase Schaefer. They helped me improve a lot. I think the Xfinity car also fits my driving style a little more than the next gen. So that definitely did have an influence on it. But overall, I think I just decided to play this season a little smarter, maybe lower my ego a little bit, recognize that I'm not the fastest out there, but it doesn't really matter that much. I mainly just had fun with this season. And I think that's what allowed me to actually do better than previous seasons. I didn't take it as serious, and in turn, I got more reward.
Well, it looks like treating it as a more fun experience really helped you out here. And I got to say, for the most part, the racing looked to be quite fun on the circuit here. I think every driver, for the most part, has to be excited about Season 6 coming up. We've seen better and better racing every season. You think there's a chance maybe to back up this performance?
I mean, maybe I'll put in some work in the off season, really practice. I think I can really start to make some real improvements, maybe run up front more. Yeah, I just got to say thank you to the league owner, Mason Moriarty. He's really cleaned up this league from past seasons. He's really made some great improvements, and I'm excited for Season 6.
And we're excited to see what is next as well. Brandon Dugan, if you have any final shout-outs you'd like to make, we'd love to hear them.
Shout out to River Page. Congrats on winning the championship. Congrats to James Thurston on getting second in the points. Those two helped me out a lot this season. Yeah, I think that's about it. Shout out to all the Precision drivers.
Brandon Dugan coming home in second night to finish off a top 3 points run. Thank you once again for your time.
Thank you.
And Chase Schaefer would be the only driver we are waiting on right now. Maybe we're going to get a word from him. He finishes third today in what was an overall up and down event for the number 99 team. Schaefer right now not going to be in an interview room, so we're going to try to call him back in. Oh, Brendan, you're still with us. What's up?
Hello. I got moved back in here.
Oh, huh. We'll bring you back to the chat room. All right, Brendan Dugan's back with his drivers, and they're still talking things over. Chase Schaefer, we're waiting on right now for an interview. Let's see what you can get from him. Not available, unfortunately. We'll have to cut things short, but it looks like he was in the voice chats as recent as about 2 or 3 minutes ago, but he left the IORA communication. Unfortunately, that might be it for Chase Schaefer. A great season it was for Schaefer, despite the fact that he was part-time. I'll give him this much. Pro to pro, it has its priority for good reason. The chance to fight against the best of the best. And Schaefer is once again, as we'll put the camera on him, he's once again proven he is getting so much better in what we see from him. It might be limited, but he has grown to become a consistent threat wherever he races. Doesn't matter the caliber of the field. And I think that's one of the most exciting things we've seen out of IORA as of late. Some of the best drivers here at the top of the field are some of the best drivers in all of iRacing, like Joe Armstrong, Schaefer, Mosteller. We've seen guys like, we saw Ashton Crowder, a Coke driver in his past days in iRacing. We've seen some of the best make it happen. And of course, a great opportunity again as Chase Schaefer comes home in third. Unfortunately, the 99 does not appear to be available. Comments. What a season it was. We've been covering IORA since Season 2, and I think every season it's gotten better. This season, far and away the best we've ever seen. The racing was phenomenal. The drivers brought it every day. And for good reason, we have ourselves a deserving champion and an incredible title bout. I'd like to thank, personally, Mason Moriarty, who put a lot of this together throughout the past 2 seasons, and I think the fruits of that labor, they're showing every week. Mason's been the guy behind the scenes really controlling the job here at IORA, and the IORA team allowed us first to get things going here in FTN, and they've continued to do a great job in supplying us what we need to succeed to this day. So Mason Moriarty, a personal shout out goes out to, of course, our owner of the IORA Cup Series. And ending it all on that note, River Page is your champion. Getting things done tonight. It looks like, that being said, night has come to a close. Season 5 is over. We will be back for season number 6. We thank you all for watching. live on FTN, exclusive coverage of the IORA Cup Series from the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. I've been your host for tonight's broadcast, David Kreutz, and we hope to join you once again for next season, Season 6. And we've been here with IORA for more than 2 years now. We'll return again. The 6th season of competition is coming up next. So stay tuned live on FTN because we'd love to have you all once more. We'll be back tomorrow night with the Prodigy Racing Association's debut race with the Legacy Truck Series. 250 miles at Daytona. We hope to see you there as well. Congratulations to River Page and the entire Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport team for their fantastic work with drivers Page and Jim Thurston. Haggard Electrical and the number 55 crew also coming through third in the title battle, and Daniel Osteller rebounding to come home fourth in the title standings and 6th in the race. We'll be back next season for the high banks of Daytona to kick off another season in Florida, and we hope that you join us there as well. I've been David Kreutz, and from the entire FTN crew, thank you for watching Season 5 of the IORA Cup Series. We'll see you Season 6.